Dolphins at Seahawks. I have the Seahawks coming in favored by 4.5 with a 41.5 point over under. We have, of course, Tua on IR. Dealing, of course, with the concussion situation that we saw last Thursday. Looks like Mostert's probably going to be out. He's listed as doubtful, dealing with that chest injury. And then on the other side of the ball, we have Ken Walker dealing with that oblique. Looks like he's going to be doubtful. So let's kind of start there. Do you see Zach Charbonnet? I have him as a must start in this matchup against this depleted Dolphins defense. I really like him actually this week. I don't even have him as a player to discuss. I have a must start, but I wanted to get your thoughts on Charbonnet because I'm sure we'll get questions about him.
I have him as a must start, and I actually am going that way in cash as well for a DFS lineup because of the volume that we expect to get. And look, Miami's defense is middle of the pack. They got to go the length of the country, and we talked about that I think last week with the Niners going all the way to the East Coast playing those early games. I know it was Minnesota, but it's still relatively early for them. I think it's really difficult to travel the length of the country and get into a totally different time zone, especially in the 12th man. So I think it's a must start for Charbonnet. I think it's a must start for Achane. I absolutely love his usage this week with no Mostert and no Tua. I think you're going to see a very similar game script to what you saw last Thursday night against Buffalo for Achane.
Nice. Yeah, I have Achane actually as my RB5 since you mentioned him, and I actually have
I have him as RB4.
Oh, that's hilarious. And then Zach Charbonnet actually have as my RB13.
Okay.
A little spicy there.
Yeah, I have him at 18, but
okay.
Terribly far off.
Not too far off. Not too far.
I also thought Ramondre would have a better night last night than he did.
Yeah, I had Mondre at 15. So yeah, we're not going to talk about that. All right, so let's get into the guys that we actually wanted to talk about. I think this is a big question. We saw someone talking in our Get Right sleeper thread as well, which go down in the description if you guys want to post your questions there. We have a trade chat as well too. But I've been hearing a lot of stuff. What's going to happen here with Jaylen Waddle? With the move to Skylar Thompson. What are your thoughts on Waddle this week? Do you have him as a starter or sit?
I have him as a sit, but I also have now lost him in my rankings. There he is. He's at 28 in my rankings. I had to find him there. I have Rashid Shaheed ahead of Jaylen Waddle. One spot. And the reason I bring that up quite simply is I just don't believe in Skylar Thompson. I think you're going to see a lot of Achane. I think you're going to see some designed and manufactured touches for Tyreek Hill. I don't think the Seahawks are great. No KW3. They're kind of okay as a team. So I know they're going the length of the country. I do think with the skill positions, Miami can win this game. But if I'm betting on two players in the Dolphins offense, I'm putting my money on Achane and Tyreek Hill. And if I'm wrong on Waddle, it's his week, then that's fine. I'm okay being wrong. But without Tua, without the ability to really push the ball down the field, I just don't see a world where he's going to really have a high ceiling this week. So sadly, I think you can flex him, but if you're in a 3 wide receiver league, I don't think you're starting him in one of those 3 spots.
Interesting. I have him. It's funny you mentioned Shaheed because I have them back to back, but I do have him as 25 and 26 with Waddle 1 spot still ahead. Yeah. I still think, he can get that target volume being that second. I mean, there's just nobody else. It's him and Hill, right? So I think target volume is going to be there. The defense is going to make it more pass happy script. At least Skylar's, he came in at, he didn't think he was going to play that Thursday, right? He probably was out drinking Wednesday night, you know what I mean? Sure, so I don't think, I don't even think, it was an issue, mini bye week coming up. He probably had no thoughts he was going to get in the game. But so I think, with the, McDaniels, he'll design some stuff open again. He comes from that Niner offense, understanding how to just design guys open. And if he is a competent, NFL quarterback, last time he was in there where everyone was kind of comparing the numbers when Tua was last out, he was a rookie. So hopefully here over the last couple of years, he's been able to develop more, get some more reps and things under there. It's been pretty much the same offense and same skill positions there. And I mean, when you got guys like Waddle and Hill that can just basically get open and fast as all get out, I still think he's going to, walk away still with low end wide receiver 2 numbers versus being like a high end wide receiver 2. So that's my justification for 25 and my little take there on Waddle. So let's talk about Geno Smith. Been playing pretty well here. Like this new offense that they're running, kind of opening it up a little more, like the, DK, like seeing some motion going on there. JSN finally popped last week. Tyler Lockett took a little bit of a back seat. But what do you think? Let's just kind of group all these guys together: Geno Smith, Jaxson, and Tyler Lockett. How you kind of feeling about that trio? Because of course we're DKs in your lineups.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super flex. You can start Geno. I have him at QB 16, so in single quarterback, I'm not going there. I think there's better plays this week, but in super flex, I think he's in your lineup at home. Again, we mentioned Miami's defense isn't great. He had a decent week last week, so I'm fine with that. I lost Jordan Love in a super flex, so I'm starting Geno as my QB3, as my QB2, but he's my QB3 on the roster, and I feel okay with that. If I get 15 to 18 points, I'm perfectly happy with that, so I'll be okay there. JSN, I think you can start. I loved what I saw last week. I think for me, it was a good week for him. I'm trying to find where I have him in my rankings. I have him at wide receiver 31. So if you're in a three wide receiver set, I think you can put him in there. If you're looking for a flex option, again, Miami's not great at home. No Kenneth Walker. I think you can consider him in a flex and a 2 wide receiver. So it's a little thinner. I think there's some better plays, but I'm okay with him this week. And I know you and I usually think pretty closely along the same lines. Where do you have him in your rankings?
Yeah, so Jaxson I have at 28. Lockett I have way down at 46.
Yeah.
And Geno I actually am a little more bullish on. I think he can have a good game against this Miami defense. And I think it's, I actually have him as like my QB 14, I think.
Okay,
So I'm feeling, or 13. Yeah. So I have him just actually ahead of Dak Prescott, Sam Darnold. I have Deshaun, Kirk Cousins, Purdy, Lawrence after him. So I felt just again with his weapons, like in that spot, I feel pretty comfortable with Geno and how this offense is taking off. So so good stuff there. Let's see. So obviously we're starting A-Chain, we're starting Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf. We mentioned them. I have Skylar Thompson though as a sit. Obviously, if you're in a tough situation in a super flex league, you might just be stuck kind of having to throw him in there. But Jonnu, Noah Fant, the tight ends, I'm sitting in this game. Anything else? Any other comments you have? Any props or anything on this one? Are you ready to move on?
No, I think if you're in cash, I'm absolutely starting Achane. I'm starting Charbonnet. I do think it's a 3 wide receiver build in cash this week because the wide receivers are priced down. But if you really want to get into some of the guys we're going to talk about next, and you really want to go and grab Amon-Ra, then I'm okay going with only 2 running backs, and Achane and Charbonnet would be my 2 go-tos, or Achane and Mason. But we'll talk about those guys in a second. So